move to our next session, we will have a VDF panel. So I think maybe most of people, maybe the first time heard about the VDF. So maybe you have a lot of questions. So let's just raise your hand if you have a question. Anyone have a question?
Hey, hello. Okay. Based on the previous slide from Dr. Guo, right? You mentioned the threshold algorithm, and what's the difference between the ring algorithm on the current, what was it, Zcash or the other encrypted cryptocurrency algorithm? So what's the difference between that?
有问题，一个中文讲解。
不好意思，就是刚刚在上面有讲到一个那个 threshold algorithm 是不同人把不同的 signature 放在一起，然后产生
threshold signature。
对 threshold signature。那what is the difference between the ring algorithm？ 就是现在好像有个货币是用，就是它是也是
ring signature。
对 ring signature。What's the difference between the threshold signature and the ring signature？
OK。我要中文。好，两个那个要求完全不一样。ring signature 是让你去做签章，但你不知道是谁签的。他会有一群人，比如说10个好人，但事实上只有1个人在做签章。那你看起来就是这10个人某一个人签章，你没有办法分辨是谁。OK， 找1个人就会知道这件事情。OK， 那 threshold signature 就是一个 group 里面，那这里面有个参数，就是这 group 里面有多少人要给出签章，才可以把这个 threshold signature 拼出来。对。对，所以在使用上面其实会有很大的不同。
His question is what's the difference between ring signature and threshold signature? You want to ask? Okay. And also the threshold signature it has another advantage because it can reduce the data because only one signature could be generated. Even I have a multiple participant. Any question?
我请教一下顾博士哦，就是刚刚您提到的这个 randomness by VRF 哈，那请问那个 pseudo random 怎么样去验证说，因为你说画一堆配去说它是 randomness， 对，是 pseudo random 然后变 randomness 那怎么去验证这件事？就是有没有数学证明，或者说怎么去验证这件事情？
我中间其实是稍微比较快带过去，因为前面那个东西的输出其实是一个你没有办法预测的东西，就是它的签章，对不对？你的签章你没办法，别人的签章你没办法预测，同意吧？因为你能预测的话，代表你可以伪造出一个签章，可以伪造它去做签章，对吧？那这个东西就可以当做一个 pseudo random 的一个 source。那把这个东西做 hash 之后，把它当做一个 pseudo random 这个东西是 under 密码学上有一个假设，就是 random oracle model， 就是可以把这个 hash function 当做万位function来用，它输出的东西就是个 random 的值。
就目前电脑算出来不是都是 pseudo random 吗？目前电脑架构。对啊。double hash 怎么可能变成 randomness？ 就是 pseudo random。
好，那我刚刚的确又没有在特别刻画这件事情。所谓你没办法预测别人的签章，是指说，如果今天别人的签章的 security， 比如说是用128 bit， 代表你没办法压缩它的 entropy 低于128 bit。OK。可以吗？所以代表它的签章里面至少有128 bit 的 entropy 是你没办法预测，所以你就把它当做一个 randomness 的 source 去做，去经过这个 hash function， 然后把它变成一个 pseudo random 的一个值。OK， 这样我回答到，还是有哪一部分比较不清楚的？这里面有很多这种比较理论密码学的一些技巧什么的。 像一个 random walk model 可能可以讲要10个小时吧。对。
Good Justin mentioned about the time lock puzzles, so I want there any possible way that we could revoke the time lock puzzle before it get revealed. 就是我想问一下，有没有办法可以在那个 time lock 的那个 encryption 在被 reveal 之前，我可以发一条指令把它revoke 掉。比如说我如果是斯诺登，然后呢我知道一些军方的秘密，然后呢我说我把你的秘密已经加密，然后2天之后它自动就 reveal。你必须确保我的安全，如果你没确保我安全，你的秘密就会被公诸于世。有没有这样子的验算法？
不多。
都可以。
So I'm not absolutely sure. It's about revoking time lock puzzles that you. I mean that's basically again like that would go against the idea of a time lock puzzle. Like once you have revealed it, you cannot really do anything about it. Like it will be possible to solve it after the given time.
The issue is more like the hard disk switch and the cryptographic credit that sort of link to your hard disk, and if your hard disk stuck and the puzzle reveal, it's like a reverse version of that kind of switch. Maybe that's what she meant.
Sorry, I don't quite.
It's okay, like maybe there's a line we connected to your heart, and when your heart starts beating, then the switch will turn on or turn off, and something is revealed. Maybe she wants to add something like that. If there's anything similar to that in our time lock puzzle.
Okay, so you want sort of like a switch that, like a dead man switch that when you don't do something, then some secret gets revealed. It's not really immediately possible with time lock puzzles because who would at that point encode it? So I mean that's one of the sort of very interesting questions in blockchains in general. How do you solve that? How do you keep a secret that could be used in certain situations without anyone actually having it? I mean the only solution I can think of there are multi-party computations, but I don't think time lock puzzles directly give you that.
Hi, so there is a VDF-research.org, which is the website for the multiple blockchain projects like Ethereum Foundation, Protocol, and Chia, and many projects. And could you elaborate what's the progress of the hardware of VDF?
Yeah, so right now, so we've just finished the first FPGA competition. So basically, before we will start developing the ASIC itself, there are like a series of steps to make sure that we actually have the best possible algorithms. So like the first step for that was the first FPGA competition that just finished like a couple of weeks ago. So it was a prize of $100,000 for the fastest algorithm to compute the RSA VDF, which is one of the possible implementations. And that had an improvement of about 75%. Also, the baseline algorithm had 15 nanoseconds squaring time, and the new one has about 28 seconds. And the second part of the competition is just running. And so basically, I think over the course of the next year, there will be further competitions, like there will also be an ASIC competition. And then in the year after, we will probably see the implementation in actual ASICs.
I want to ask, what are the possible applications of expiring zero-knowledge proofs? That's my question.
Okay, I mean, so it depends, but you can, for example, think of the way right now governments have these deadlines when they will release documents, right? So like you have all the secret documents, but you usually have like a 30-year rule in the UK. I don't know what is in other countries. That after which those documents have to be released. So, for example, you could build that into like actual systems. Like imagine
I mean, I guess that's like the government application is probably not ideal because over such long time frames, it doesn't make sense. But imagine now you had an exchange that did an audit and published like that they have all the funds that they claim they have. They could actually build in a feature that right now maybe they don't want to reveal where those funds actually are, but maybe they can build in the feature that after 1 year it gets revealed because then it doesn't matter anymore, and then anyone can look back and see, oh yes, this actually looks like accounts that exchange had. I don't know, just one idea.
What about the experiment?
Yes, so I mean, I guess mainly, I don't know, I haven't thought of concrete applications, but I mean, it's similar to having deniability in signatures, like when you can send someone digitally signed documents, but they cannot use those signatures to prove to anyone else that you sent them. And similarly, here you could have something where you send something, but after an amount of time, you can deny that like you ever sent it, like it's not, or that it was, yeah, that it was you, basically.
你好，我想请教一下，就是在提 verifiable delay function 这边啊，就是在前面有说到，它是说我们要产出最后的结果的时候，会需要一定时间的计算，然后这个部分可能是没有办法用多品型化等等方式去处理嘛，去保证说我现在用其他价值观法没有办法很好的 improve。那这个部分它是定义一个，只是定义一个难度而已嘛，还是因为这个是不是还会牵涉到部分算力，说这样说？我现在定义的时间，其实或许假设我定义1天好了，但如果是比较好的算法的话，它其实还是可以加速。那这个时间是没有办法那么精确的定义，就是在算力上面是不是还是会有影响这样子？
好，对，会有一点影响，但它影响是很小的一个 factor。它会保证说你至少滑梯的时间 ，OK， 但你即使算力很大很大、很强很强，那你可能只会少掉一个。随便举个例子，10%，就是你的算力可能是变成100倍，那你可能只能赚一点点的优势而已。可能要从比较数学的角度来看。
This question is, when we talk about the variable delay function, the key, when we say the proof is by after t. So what if we can find an efficient algorithm to compute, do we get
expires?
No, I'm not saying the proof is generated after t steps. So if we could find an efficient algorithm, could we solve this problem as quickly as possible?
So I mean, so the assumption basically, like, is a question whether there might be other algorithms out there that can compute it faster. And I mean, this is like an interesting question in cryptography. Like all those cryptographic primitives that we're using, pretty much all asymmetric cryptography is based on assumptions that we cannot prove. We just assume that large numbers are hard to factor. And so similarly here, basically the VDFs that we're constructing now, most of them rely on squaring in some group, like one of them is squaring in the RSA group, and that's actually a new cryptographic assumption that there's no way to like avoid the repeated squaring, that you cannot do it in any faster way, but there's no absolutely certain way to know it. The only, yeah, I mean, we can think that it's difficult because time-locked puzzles have been out there for like more than 20 years now, and nobody has found another way. But we can never be absolutely sure. Basically, it's like cryptographic research. You put many people on it to think about it, and hopefully, if there's another way, then they will have found it.
哦，其实他刚刚讲的那个就是时间跟算力的那个比较，我有个疑问，就是假设说今天这个链子它是要1年之后才能解开，所以说它会随着就是时间的越来越靠近，然后它的需要的算力是会越来越少嘛？因为这边里面的 mechanism 我真的是没有不会。那所以也就是说，到了那个时间点，就是
假如说我们设定它要在1年之后才能被解开，我现在就要开始算，然后连续算1年之后，对，才会达到。
没错。
那如果没有人要解这个东西的话，就没有这东西就永远没有用了。OK， 好，它保证就是从计算function开始，至少花很多的时间。哦，好 ，OK。
然后这个时间是不关算力
的。算力没办法帮助你太多。对。
那如果我算的那台机器中间当了，会不会延长这个时间？所以，就我算的那台机器，如果中间出了故障，会不会延长那个？
那当然，因为从中间开始没有算，还是要保证至少要算多久。其实刚刚有稍微提到，就是目前的构造就是在一些group 里面做平方。可以想象，就是每次在 mod p 乘上 q 这个世界里面，把某一个数字在做平方，然后平方很多次。OK， 就是 ISA 的。好，太多数学了。
Question. So maybe I'll just ask you guys background and to talk about how you are interested in VDF and how do you study VDF. Yeah.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, I came into like the Ethereum research just when this whole subject started, and it's basically a very essential thing for us in Ethereum 2.0 for several reasons to have good randomness, and so that's why it has become like one of the subjects where we go very deeply and are currently investing a lot of money to nail this down.
这边就我还继续用中文好。那其实我以前中文大学的时候，主要在做攻击，就是做攻击。简单来讲，就是破解密码这样子。那我做这个区块链分散式计算，其实也是这样，就是死性不改。我还是喜欢破解一些东西。所以你也看到，其实我在讲这些东西的时候，常常会从攻击者的角度去看这件事情。包括 VDF 它还被定义出来的时候，我就开始讲这个东西 security 要怎么定。OK。所以什么时候应该要参数要怎么取才是安全的？因为你知道一个东西要怎么安全的被设计出来，你就要知道怎么去攻击它。你知道怎么攻击，你才知道这个东西要怎么设定才够安全这样子。这其实还蛮一体两面的。所以那时候其实就在讨论这件事情，然后在某个会议就遇到很多就是一开始的共同作者之一。所以那时候跟他讨论很多东西，他那时候自己也承认，他提出来的时候其实没有对他安全性想太多，然后觉得这也是一个蛮好玩的地方，所以才去。花了一些时间去分析说 VDF 在怎么样使用才够安全，这是我对 VDF 在research上面的一些动机，这样子，谢谢。
Okay, I'm currently studying cryptography for my master's, and I have a question for maybe three of you are all academic researchers. And sometimes my advisor told me that that there's some cryptographic primitives, there's some models and some groups, some elements with special features, but in the beginning they're just there, and you don't know how to use them. It's in the end, and maybe 10 or 20 years ago, and you will accidentally find out that, oh, this thing is such a perfect fit for my model or for the things that I want to do. And my question is, how does three of you maybe can like Mr. Price just introduced us tons of applications, and how the hell do you guys even think out of those applications? Like when you are showering or when you are walking, or is it a eureka moment? Is there a eureka moment for you guys, or is it like a more iterative process? Maybe you will do for years or for months. How does it like? Because as a student, I was like, you guys are like gods. I know nothing. Can I answer that? Thanks.
I mean, I should maybe add first that those applications weren't thought up by me. I was collecting those over the last couple of weeks, talking to other people. So in most cases, I mentioned which product they come from. In some cases, they the projects didn't want me to name them, so like I didn't put their name on. I think like VDFs were very unique as a cryptographic primitive in that in the same month where they were first proposed as a primitive, which was June 2018, last year, they also the first efficient implementation was proposed, and projects were starting to use them immediately because they filled this exact gap, this exact thing that many projects were missing. Like several other of the projects I've talked about, they were actually looking for this primitive already for years, basically. So it's a very unique thing that happens very rarely. I talked to Benjamin Veselovsky, who's like basically the inventor of like the most efficient VDF proving scheme at the moment, and he was extremely surprised like what happened after he published this paper, because this has basically very rarely happened before. Yeah, so I think this is quite unique. I'm not a cryptographic researcher, so I can't tell you the other side of it, but I can tell you, like, from my point of view as like a researcher in the sort of blockchain space, it's like when I search for certain things, I score the literature and see like if I can find anything that fits my bill, basically. But in this case, it was a very unique process.
That's so helpful.
I think this is I think this is a very interesting part in blockchain space, because usually in cryptography, when a cryptographer proposes theory, maybe 20 years or 3 years ago, and no one found his theory is pretty useful until the blockchain technology bring us a space that you can start to imagine what kind of application you want to build on top of cryptography. So at this moment, people start to think about, oh, yeah, if we can prove something, if we can have delay function, just like a time lock, it would be useful. So it's really hard to tell you what kind of application that we can have, but only when you need it, you will find a way to solve it.
这其实蛮大的问题。就是有时候你可能看不懂这些密码学家到底模式这些东西在干什么，但事实上，只要可能读够多的文章，包括可能从10年前读到现在，你就会知道它其实一直都有一些脉络可以找到的。你可以看到，比如说3、5年前吧，就是密码学走向了一个很奇怪的方向，因为那时候大家想要问的是密码学可以为这个世界上带来什么样的功能。我们先不论它的安全性，安全性我们用一个最低的标准，所以那时候出现很多这种所谓的 unconventional 的一些 assumption， 一些 assumption 你听的时候是根本就不安全，对。但是我们希望就是我们想要知道密码学的极限在哪，我们先画一条线出来。所以那时候可能不知道这件事情，可能就会觉得我们提的那莫名其妙的东西，这些东西不实用，到底在问什么东西？那重点就问出那条线在哪里。我们就算把安全性降到最低的标准。那我们什么事还是做不到 ？OK， 还有什么事情做得到 ？OK， 那在这几年，然后区块链红起来了，然后红起来之后，我们开始问，那区块链还缺哪些拼图 ？OK，even 就是刚刚其中有提到，就是有些东西到底能不能用？什么像我中间有提到嘛，以太链，图尼尔摩尔得主他自己在03年提出了一个这个 verifiable random function， 他自己都不知道可以用到区块链上，结果是别人先用了，他自己才回过头来，这个东西蛮有价值的，我自己来用一下这样子，这也是一个很有趣的事情，所以很难说那个别人到底怎么想到的 ，even 你自己提出来的都不知道可以这样子用，对啊，所以那我自己怎么想到的东西的话是更诡异啦，因为我常常都在走路散步，甚至很常在做户外运动的时候想到的。这个东西应该是就你也不是模仿得出来嘛？像选密友他自己也说，我很多 idea 都是从我洗澡的时候想到的。我们都在想，整天都在洗澡嘛。对啊，就是密码学大概是发展这样，一直就是每个时间点会有一些不一样的方向，大家有一个比较大的目标。 但如果你不知道目标是什么，就会觉得这些好像在不断的问一些事情。对，我相信问你的老师或者是他们应该会大概告诉你一下，大家现在想要问的问题是什么。对，大概是这样。
你好，想请问一下，就是有关那个 VDF 的那个参数 delay time 那个时间，假设比如说我们设10分钟，那是说这个10分钟是说是以现在的科技来讲，它是一定会只有在10分钟之后被 evaluate 出来。那也许可能是不是说10年后、20年后，它这个就不存在，可能因为不管你是用算力去做，或者说用 memory 去做 memory bar 去做，其实基本上科技进步的话，这个东西其实你原来设的10分钟，可能在10年后、20年后，这个可能就不存在这样的限制，是不是这样的？
某种上来讲，可以这样子解读，但是大家有想过一件事情啊？为什么现在 CPU 的时脉会一直卡在大约就3 GHz 到4 GHz？这应该从我10年前就看到那时候出的 CPU，Pentium 4啊 ，Pentium 4就是3.6、4.0 GHz， 现在也是差不多。这其实就会告诉我们每秒可以做多少运算嘛。那 VDF 就会告诉你要做有多少运算，你要 sequential 的去做。OK， 那你每秒只能做那么多运算，然后这个运算要 sequential， 代表这个时间就被绑住了。OK， 所以问题就要回到我前面这个其实我当然不是设计这些电路的专家，但是我从我微不足道的电磁学的知识里面，其实就是电流要更快的时候，其实就遇到一个问题，就是共振。你的时脉要更高，但是你的那些电路就可能造成一些共振的问题。但有共振的问题，你的时脉就没办法更高了，因为我们现在电路就是要做这么大块，除非我们电路可以做得非常非常小块之类的，我们时脉才有可能上去。对，所以时脉就一直卡着，除非我们今天有一个破天荒的一些科技可以变成10 GHz， 那10 GHz 当然人家我们 VDF 能保证的时间可能变1半。OK。但是这个1半其实是一个蛮弱的一个供给也好，对，因为这个我们可以让时脉增加的速度实在太慢了，对。
我很好奇，就是那个方群是怎么样定义出来的？就是说我怎么知道说这个10分钟是绝对不会有人可以解得开来？那它基本上不是靠运算。就是靠 memory 来去 delay 这样子，来去 make sure 这个 delay 的时间。那但是不管是你用算力或者说用 memory 去做，基本上随着科技的进步，这个其实都是可以被破掉的，就是说可以被增进的。所以现在的10分钟的运算的这些东西，或者是10分钟的这个方群，其实在可能20年后。就不可能是，也许5分钟就解决了啊，所以我不知道，因为我的解读是说，这个 VDF 其实跟你这个使用的这个时间点没有关系，就是说我们现在只能 make sure 说 VDF 在现在这个时空是10分钟，但是我不 make sure 说是20年后还是10分钟，
对，
是不是这样子？
对，是这样没错。
那这样的话，其实是不是就限制了这个 VDF 的这个应用的范围？
可是它中间那个function可以抽换掉，就是我要怎么样把那个时间拉高，就是时间的那个function我可以放掉，所以我还是可以找到新的方法去取代既有。
反通。
比如说我们你讲没错，但是你讲现在开始算，我例如说，如果我今天设计有我认为它现在10分钟不足了，我可以把它更掉。
其实所有密码系统你都碰到一样的问题嘛，就我们今天的密码系统 security parameter 选到64 bit， 事实上在更早之前 DES 只有56 bit， 我们就已经觉得够安全了。但现在我们觉得不够安全，因为我们现在计算量够了。那我们现在要80 bit、128 bit， 甚至未来量尽量256 bit， 对啊。就是有些东西的改进，我们的确要去抽换一些这样的设计，对。 然后来满足那时候的一些计算能力，会造成的一些危害之类的。
那我们是预估说这个东西多久会多这样子？想到说我们要不要用多一点？比如说我如果说设一个1年，会不会说我们这个技术的进步在1年内可能就已经会达到这些标准？
首先，现在科技的进步没有很快，所以在这方面的攻击是并没有造成太大危害，基本上还是已经稍微低于摩尔定律了。对啊。
对 VDF 本身来讲，并没有针对这一点特别去对，就是说它的应用范围、时间的未来是。
目前我这边比较没有看到这一部分的探讨，对，因为可能有一个很大的原因就是我前面讲的，电脑虽然不断的在演进，但现在只是面积变大，同时可以算的东西变多，但是 sequentially 就是你要一步一步算的东西的那个时脉是没有变高的，永远还是3 GHz、4 GHz， 对啊，所以如果它这个时脉没有办法变高，它 VDF 需要调整的就不会太多。
So based on his question, I want to ask you another question. So we know SNAP or STAP or maybe VDF is kind of potential technology. However, this kind of operation is just proposed recently in applications. So how do we, guarantee its security or, when one day there might be an operation and improve if we can solve the problem efficiently, how do we do that?
Sorry?
How do we do that, or change the function, or once the start, the difficulty, the assumption is pretty hard, but once we find a solution or an algorithm, we can quickly to solve this problem. At that time, what do we do?
Sorry, you mean like once the algorithm improves, what we are going to do about the? So the protocol will. So at the moment, we don't expect that to happen very quickly. So most protocols have like the parameters hard coded into their protocols. But like once there's more people using it, and also hopefully when there are incentives, like we can have similar difficulty adjustments, just like other protocols, like proof of work protocols. Yeah. And like if you're asking about the new primitive, I don't know, I thought there were 2 questions. What's the first one about like how we know whether the new primitives are actually safe?
Yeah, this is the first question.
Okay, so that's something that I'm kind of getting into myself at the moment, because there are also other primitives that I'm looking into that we want to use, but haven't been tested that much. My current feeling is the best way to do it, of course, like you want as many eyes as possible onto something that you want to use. That's in the end how you make it safer for everyone, because hopefully if there was an obvious attack, then or a non-obvious attack as well, then like many eyes would have seen it. So like one of the ways that seems to work quite well is like if you put up bounties for different things that you want evaluated, you say like, if you find a better algorithm, you do this, then you can win this amount of money, and that seems to work quite well to get like people thinking about it. And yeah, like I've just on a completely different project, I've just had like a huge improvement on one algorithm that was due to a bounty that we set on it. So that's the best way I can think at the moment. Of course, you can also do the same thing, that you like get many academics and give them grants on like directly doing research on it. I think the combination of those 2 is the best one.
还有人有问题 ？Any question?
跟那个为什么平方计算在 VDF 里面，它是不能进行计算的？必须在哪？
简单来讲就是，如果你可以平行计算的话，代表你可以把我刚刚说的 ISA group 里面的 N 分解掉，目前的了解。
说这两个等价。
对，可能还没有等价的结果，但某种程度上面，就是你已经知道这个 RSA group 长什么样子的。OK。
因为直觉上来讲，你原本是要算某个元素的 square。
对。
那我可以 we can choose another element x2, x3, x4. Simultaneously generate square. Maybe in some time, this value is equal to that point.
But the group is huge. Like, I mean, the group is so huge, that's so incredibly unlikely. It's never going to happen. Yeah. But it's a very interesting question. Like, I mean, I think like there is no absolute certainty that squaring is always better than, say, taking powers of 4, right? And that could give you a little bit of parallelism. But we're looking at all these things. Like, the big question, I mean, the big surprise would be if it's not sequential. For example, if you know the modulus of the RSA group, then you can just reduce modulo phi and then you're done immediately, right? So that would be a huge problem. Now, if it's taking 4th power or 8th power, that's not so much of a problem because it's still sequential, but it would be a different algorithm. It would be a problem if, like, the larger the power you take, the faster it is, because then you can parallelize. But we know that, I mean, there will be limits to that, because at some point your chip will just get so big that even the speed of light will take a long time to grow. So it's a very interesting question. If you're interested, like, we are thinking about those problems at the moment.
Question? Okay, so thanks for everybody coming to this workshop. I know this is a pretty hardcore topic, but thanks for coming. Yeah, and thanks for our presenter. Thank you.